Chapter 6 Thunderstorm. Louise drove along a sand track towards what she called the Koppiveld, where the Karoo Plains turn into a series of small rocky hills and outcrops. That's where I keep my horses, so they don't mess up Dad's grazing. Her tone was flat. One day, I'll have stables and green paddocks. Ask Elle if you can move them to their place. You're there more than you're here, right? I don't like being beholden. He understood. I'm going to drive in as far as I can. You can wait for me in the pickup. I don't want you to struggle through the stones with your leg. I'll come with you. It's strapped up pretty decently, and I'm getting better at least. We can take the picnic things along and rest if we find a likely spot. Thank you. He didn't want to show that it did hurt as he struggled uphill through the karoo bushes and stones. It was burning hot, but thunderclouds were stacking high in the sky. It's going to rain, Louise. I know. We have to find her before it does. Our picnic might be ruined, though. She sighed. She had a backpack, and he carried the basket. I'm sorry, Johnny. I think this has been a fool's mission. It's nice being out. Don't worry about it. The cumulus clouds were packing thicker. There's an old barn on the other side of the Koppie. They used to let the sheep winter here. We can head down there and take shelter from the rain. I think you should carry on with the footpath. That's where it leads. I want to run up to the top of the Koppie quickly and see if I can't spy her with a little bit of height. The veld was turning grey, the clouds stacking up high and blue. Lightning flashed. It was going to catch them. Talk about running into the storm. He was sweating and aching. He limped faster. He could see the old barn at least. They could maybe make it before the rain caught them. There was a gusty wind tugging at him, blowing puffs of dust, bringing a chill to the air. From behind him came running feet. I've spotted her! She's foaled! Louise's hair was coming loose. Her face was sweaty. She's just on the other side of those trees. Her eyes were shining. Go ahead. I'm coming as fast as I can. Get to your horse before the rain catches us. I'll bring her towards the barn so you can see too, without walking any more than necessary. She was off running, sure-footed over the rocky path. Karoo Ferry, he thought. Lightning flashed in the deep blue clouds. The air was stifling with the feel of the coming storm. His skin was prickling. It was going to be a big one. He lost sight of Louise, trudged on, following the path. Then the sun was gone. The wind was suddenly ice. English storms were one thing, but this was wild. The wind swept wild dust in front of it. He had to squint against it. He was pushing through a stretch of thorn trees. The barn had to be somewhere ahead. The lightning came without warning. The world went electric white. He fell to his knees, heard Louise scream in the explosion. His ears sang, his heart was thundering in his head. He was dizzy. Smoke. Fire. Louise. The lightning had hit the Koppie behind him, and the dry veld was catching fire like paper, the wind driving it through the brush. Fear roiled in his stomach. Louise. He scrambled up. Where was she? He was running, limp and all. Where was she? Then the horses burst out of the bushes in front of him, the bay mare wild-eyed, a chestnut foal at foot. A flash and they were gone. Louise! His ears were still singing so loud he didn't know if he would hear if she replied. Lou! The fire was spreading, the smoke rising in a wild column to the wind. "Johnny!" She was still somewhere in the trees and brush. He ran. His knees screamed protest. It was worse than dogfights and flak, and he had the speed that one ran with in nightmares. The fire was between them and the 40-minute walk to the pickup. His heart was thundering in his ears. Then the rain hit like a solid wall. It came down in horizontal, wind-driven sheets. "Johnny!" She burst from the trees into the path in the wild rain, her hair loose, her rain-drenched shirt clinging to her body, and she was laughing. "Johnny!" She grabbed him, pulled his arm around her shoulder. They ran, her shoulder under him supporting his aching leg. They were soaking when they got to the old barn, and his breath was burning in his throat. She yanked the gate open, pulled him inside. She gasped, laughing. They were dripping wet. He put the basket down on the ground, looked out over his shoulder. He was numb now. The wild rain was blowing by in misty gusts. Louise was digging in the basket. She was still breathlessly laughing. "I've got a blanket in here. And whiskey." He was shaking, he realized. He'd never seen anything like this storm. He was freezing cold. Well, at least the fire would be dead. Louise took a shot straight from the whiskey bottle, handed it to him. It burned his throat and brought a slight warmth to his frozen body. Lightning lit up the world in a white explosion again, seared against his eyelids. It was worse than flak, worse than cannon fire. It vibrated through him. Louise touched his chest. "Are you all right, Johnny?" He had never seen anyone as wildly beautiful as she was. She was wet, her top buttons had come undone. Her skin had the pearlescent sheen of rain, and her green eyes were moonlight and St. Elmo's fire. Lou. Something deep inside him was trembling. The lightning flared again. Thunder shook the whole building, shook the ground that they were standing on. Her skin was cold and wet beneath his hands, her hair wet. He kissed the rain off her neck, her eyes, her mouth. She was cold and hot. She was rain and lightning. Lightning, a crash that echoed deep inside him. She was the fire that lit up his eyelids as he kissed her warm mouth, eyes closed against the storm and the fear. She was infinity. He had to look at her then. Her skin was rain and moonlight in the flickering lightning. Something broke in him, something like a dam wall of restraint, and everything that he'd ever felt flooded over him. She was cold and hot. She was rain and fire. Lightning flaring, lighting them up as he kissed her with all the turmoil that shook him from head to toe. She whimpered. She melted against him. She tasted of rain and summer, and she shivered in his arms. Rain swept outside. His ears were singing louder. There were dark clouds at the edge of his sight. But he could look at her, could hold on to her. She was beautiful. Her knees were buckling and her hands were holding his face. She was breathless. She was kissing him back with the same wild urgency he had. He sank down on the blanket, on his knees, and he was pushing the blouse off her shoulders. Lightning flared like tracer. She was moonlight and a wilder storm than any he had ever seen. It swept him up. He lost his bearings, held on to her as the clouds drew in around him. Lightning. Her skin was cold as the rain against him, and underneath the rain cold, she was warm, hot, pearly moonlight. Lightning. Johnny. She was breathless. She pulled his face down to hers, and it was something more than kissing. She became the storm itself. He had no control, no defense.